Await. Now, as William Ruto takes over as the 5th president of Kenya, the sports sector expects the new administration to facilitate growth and development. Daniel Wahome looks at what is in the sports in-tray for the incoming Kenya Kwanza government.
Following the enactment of the Sports Act of 2013, the sector has seen changes in operations and funding. The Act is explicit on how sports federations are legally structured. If they fail to meet the criteria, the Cabinet Secretary in charge of sports is mandated to take action to ensure compliance. For the incoming administration, they will inherit the Football Kenya Federation Transition Committee that has been in place since November last year, when Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohamed disbanded the body's executive. Prior to the intervention in football, the Sports Ministry had put in place a normalization committee to bring an end to wrangles at Cricket Kenya. Currently, the Swimming Federation is under stabilization committee constituted by the world governing body FINA. Before venturing into any aspect of sport, the new administration will have to enforce the national governance structure.
What I come to discover in Kenya is that there are so many people thriving in the chaos that is the sporting industry, and any semblance of proper corporate governance or proper structures is fought. So it's a step in the right direction, but still a lot more work needs to go to make it a full commercial enterprise.
Besides governance, funding of national teams and events hosted is guaranteed through the Sports, Arts and Social Development Fund, SSDEF. Sports is allocated up to 35% of the fund. In the current financial year, up to 5.53 billion shillings will go towards sport. The Kenya Kwanza manifesto speaks of expanding the National Youth Talent Academy to include all sports and simultaneously devolve it to introduce County Sports Talent Academy. These region-based academies will have capacity to systematically identify promising sporting talent and provide necessary support through sponsorship to further their skills and talent.
Development is a big issue. And development is coaching. You have the Kenya Academy of Sports. We need to put money in that. We have, training of trainers and all of that. So I think it's up to government, yes, to say that within the framework that is available or improving the framework that is available, how then do they invest in capacity and capability?
Another pledge is that within 100 days, sustainable sources of sports funding will be identified, including a national lottery, tax incentives for corporate sponsorship, and public-private partnership frameworks for infrastructure development. Some of these proposals exist in law.
Section 15(1)(z), I think, of the Income Tax Act is anyone who puts in money into sponsorship of sports, then of course it's an allowable deduction. It's not clear, one, and two, I don't think there's goodwill from government, because also, I'll be honest, corporates haven't done their research, and because this is a law that has been there for 6 years. So there's a lot of civic education that needs to happen also.
The country has, over the last 5 years, hosted 2 Global Athletics Championships, the World Rally Championship Safari Rally, and the Kenya Open Golf Championship that is part of the European Tour. As part of its manifesto, the incoming administration wants to keep this trend going by establishing a tourism promotion function for sport. To achieve this, they need to invest in infrastructure that passes the tests set out by global federations. As a reference, here's World Athletics President Seb Coe speaking in Oregon in July after Kenya lost the bid to host the 2025 World Athletics Championships.
There were challenges around the stadium, which would have needed a great deal of refurbishment, and there was concern expressed by the council about the time frame and the quantum of resource that would be needed in order to refurbish that.
Sports is a devolved function, and county governments have a role to play, a model that is used in Spain.
Every municipality has a FIFA A standard coach or FIFA C standard coach, and they are connected to the municipalities. So whatever FKF is doing with training coaches, there's a way that it works with government. So it's not just FKF training coaches and then these coaches go to their clubs and all of that. There's still another angle, another level where they are attached to counties. That I think is what should happen. Besides the money, intensive programs, the Kenya Kwanza manifesto has proposed that the country leverage on international athletics brands to develop a domestic sports apparel manufacturing cluster and establishing a Sporting Heroes Benevolent Fund. For Prime Edition, I am Daniel Wahome.